Here we have another video from Meenan Transmissions, 2 locations, one in Lansdale, one in Willow Grove. You reach at meenantransmissions.com. Transmission we're talking about today is actually a 4R75. This is out of a 2013 Ford E250 van. To me, it's a bit of an undersized transmission for the application, but you know, this one came in basically when the vehicle was in neutral. We could hear a bunch of whirring noises coming from the transmission, which was indicative of that there was probably something in the gear train that had failed. So here's what we got it apart. You can see this direct clutch drum here is now interacting and hitting the planetary carrier. This is actually a double planet carrier. Look inside, you can see that there's 2 sets of planets there. Got a sun gear here and then a sun gear that's attached to the sun shell that goes in the top set of planets. It's a 4-speed transmission. We can also see that this this sun shell was interacting with the center support. We can also see this drum was interacting with the side of the planet carrier there. That's all gold up. So what happens in these transmissions, typically they're very prone for thrust bearing failures. We got thrust bearing here, and we have a thrust bearing that goes between the direct clutch cylinder and the planet carrier. These bearings are very prone for failure. When they do fail, it can wind up allowing the gear train to interact in a way and essentially crash. You know, these components are designed to be separated by, you know, the thrust bearings throughout the unit. When one of those thrust bearings fails, oftentimes the thrust bearings will get ingested into the gear train and wipe out the gear train. So this transmission, unfortunately, is going to require a bit of hard parts beyond just the regular rebuilding process. In addition, we had some ringland grooves in the back of the case that were pretty significant, very common issue. I don't know whether that's showing up on video. It looks like, so this case is going to need to be re-sleeved. Here's the valve body, here's the control, you know, center of the transmission. We have some upgrades that we perform to these transmissions. This is the input clutch housing. We typically replace this. This is very prone for failing here. This is where the ringland snaps in to retain the clutches. A lot of times just from the machining process where they actually cut for the ring groove, that fails. So we actually put a replacement assembly in. That's a one-piece machined steel. So instead of having the areas where the ringland snaps in and you got a mechanical or structural compromise, this is very robust. Also allows you to put an additional clutch in. So on top of the normal rebuilding items, going to have some hard parts, gear train components, planetary set. This actually should come out, but this is almost welded or fused in there. In fact, I can't even get this sun gear is supposed to come out as well, and I can't get that out. So we got some pretty significant damage in this transmission. Also need to do you know, get the case remachined and rebushed. But once we get this transmission done, we upgrade again this clutch drum, input clutch drum. Also put a new direct clutch cylinder in it because they're very prone for failure, and this one obviously needs to be replaced. So on top of the normal rebuilding items, have some hard parts, but should be able to save money compared to what a remanufactured transmission. In addition, we do a bit of upgrades and modifications to the valve body to not just make the transmission work again, but to make it work better than it does from the factory.